Hello, I'm YS and welcome back to another Draw With Me. Today I'm drawing a Draw This in Your Style challenge by Mayleemouse over on Instagram. She also has a YouTube channel, so I'll link both of those down below. This is a Draw This in Your Style of her drawing Koi, which is one of her 3 drawings for her Winsor & Newton partnership Draw With Me style challenge thing. You may have seen these floating around Instagram with a bunch of other artists as well recently. Mayleemouse posted this 24 hours before the end of the challenge, and because of that I didn't have too much time to do it. In fact, I only started it 4 hours before the challenge ended. So the whole drawing, sketching, everything process basically took 2.5 to 3 hours. And honestly, I'm super proud of what I did here. So her drawing was basically a portrait of this girl who looked like she was kind of maybe a mermaid and underwater with 3 koi fish swimming around her. I took the girl and her pose and basically her design, and instead of 3 smaller koi fish, you can see I drew 1 big koi fish. This was inspired by Japanese traditional style tattooing. I know this isn't exactly it, and it's the first time I tried to do this kind of style, so please forgive me if I make any mistakes, but I really love this style of tattooing, and even though I don't know the rules or anything, I wanted to try and emulate it. When I did the sketch for this, I did the whole thing in Prismacolor color erase pencil crayon, and then for the girl, I went back with mechanical pencil and did some of the details. And all of this I lightly erased before I actually went in with the ink. If you watched my last Draw With Me, you'll know that this is something I'm kind of trying out, using both pencil crayon for the general sketch and then going in with graphite for the tighter details. And honestly, it's been working super well for me. Even before this, I would kind of do a messy sketch, erase most of it, and use what remained of that to do a tighter sketch. So now I'm basically doing that, except I'm using a different color for the detailed sketch, which is helping out a lot. For the inking, I used micron pens. I used the 0.1 and 0.3 size. I went in with the 0.3 first to get the bolder outlines, and then did the tighter details in 0.1. I've tried using microns a couple of times before, but previously I never really loved it. This time though, I was like blown away by how well it worked. I have no idea what the difference is between this time and the previous times I've used it, but I really like the effect it gave, and I'm definitely gonna keep exploring this. If you watched my previous Draw With Me's, you'll know that I typically like to use brush pens when lining, but I don't know, something about this just worked really well. One thing I noticed about my previous stuff is when I use brush pens but don't use color or use very limited color in the drawing, it turns out really nice, whereas if I have color in the drawing, but if I had color in the drawing, it kind of looks nicer when I use microns. So I don't know, I'm gonna keep playing around with that and see what ends up looking nice. I colored this with my usual Winsor & Newton cotton watercolors, and if you watch my last few videos, you'll know that I've been really trying hard to figure out colors, especially using a more limited color palette, because how I would approach skin before was just to throw down any random colors. But that type of skin got kind of repetitive, and also it left the whole piece feeling incohesive. Is that a word? I don't know. So by using a more limited color palette, I was trying to challenge myself to see first if I can actually do it, and second if I can get a whole piece to look more together. And I really like how this one turned out color-wise. Obviously, because I did steal the color palette from Mayleemouse's original drawing, I feel like most of the credit goes to her because I still am not great at making color choices. But you know, I'm learning, I'm slowly getting there. One thing I tried to focus on when doing the shading was that instead of trying to use dark browns, blacks, or purples when I go in and do the darker shading, I tried to just use more saturated tones of the same color. So more saturated oranges on top of the yellow for the fish, and even in the hair. For this drawing, I think it really worked out, but who knows how it will work with other drawings where I have to choose the palette myself. Obviously, it's something I really still have to work at. Please let me know if you have any suggestions, or more generally what your approach to coloring is. Because honestly, I'm just trying a lot of different things right now, seeing what sticks, what doesn't. Who knows? Who knows? By the end of this drawing, I really liked it. Honestly, I'm so proud of how this turned out. I threw in kind of like that Japanese tattoo wave background thing. Again, I don't know anything about anything. I just saw this in a few reference photos and I really liked it. And it made the whole thing come together really well, I think. But I definitely recognize that this doesn't look like super professional. You know how like you see YouTube artists who do super professional looking stuff and then it's on merch and it just looks to a higher quality. And I don't understand like how people don't make mistakes. I made a huge mistake when I did the eye of the fish because I was like, I don't know what to do. because it was my first time drawing this type of koi fish. I was like, maybe I'll just give it like big cartoony googly eyes. And then when I did like the brown part of the iris, I realized it didn't look as good as before, so I kind of went over with white gel pen to try and cover it up, but obviously you can still see it. And there are just other places where you can see my lines aren't very steady, or I paint over the lines, or the lines crisscross wrong. And I know some of those are just like my hand is shaky, and part of the reason for that is when I do these draw with me videos, the way I have my camera set up, it's hard to get really close to the paper or else my head will block the view. And when I do like detail stuff, I like being close to the paper because then my hand's steadier. So if you also make these types of videos or time lapses of drawings, what is a good way to like avoid that problem? I don't know, I would love some like tips and tricks for any of this really. There's an artist on YouTube called The Average Artist, and I love her stuff because she's kind of like that bridge between those like really professional artists who you look at and you're like, how do you never make mistakes ever? And more like approachable, oh, I see how you did that. I see, you know, the little mistake you did there, and then you're talking about how you improve it or fix it later or whatever. And I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to do here, because I know that my drawing isn't up to par to be like professional, and by no means am I like super good, you know? But these drawings like are a great way to practice and to motivate myself to make stuff that's like finished drawings rather than a sketch here that I give up and a sketch there that I give up and or come back to like 3 months later. So that is about it for today's video. I really like this drawing overall, and I'm super excited for Inktober coming up. Please let me know if you're doing Inktober, because I would love to have like a group of people to kind of push each other along and cheer each other on throughout the month. I'm gonna try and complete Inktober for the first time, and not only that, but also do video time lapses of every single drawing. So hopefully that works. Click subscribe if you want to see my Inktober stuff throughout next month. And link is in the doobly-doo to follow me on Instagram to see daily posts throughout October, I hope. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye bye.